Okay, so let's just start with maybe just introduce yourself and just tell me a little bit about who you are, what you do, and then we'll go into some more questions about what we ended up working on and what the results have been like for you. So, why don't you go ahead and just give me a little introduction about you and what you do?
Sure. I'm Kyle Ancelin. I am a fractional vice president of sales and president of sales evolution. And what I do on a day-to-day basis is I solve sales problems for business owners all across the Lower Mainland, Vancouver in particular, although I do have clients all across Canada at this point. But that's what I do.
Awesome. So, tell me a little bit about before we started working on the videos, what was your business like? How were things in terms of like your marketing, your branding, that kind of thing? The stuff that's kind of relevant to why we ended up working together. But give me a little bit of, background and history on that.
Yeah. So before we started working together, I didn't really have a marketing strategy at all. I was, came from corporate world and started my own business and really was just networking and reaching out to people on LinkedIn and kind of doing the typical stuff that everybody else is doing out there. And so I didn't really have a strategy and I needed to do some research to figure out what was the right strategy and how did I want to market myself and what position did I want to take in the market. So it took a little bit of time to figure that out. Uh, but yeah, there wasn't really anything definitive happening. I wasn't really getting any I wasn't being recognized, I think, in the marketplace for anything unusual that everybody else wasn't being recognized for that's in my space as well.
Did you find that was kind of like an issue? Is that there are a lot of people, not a lot of people, but like, relatively speaking, there are a lot of people that do what you do, and so it's kind of hard to stand out. Is that something that was kind of an issue for you?
For me, there definitely are a lot of people that do what I do, but I think it's more that there's not enough people that actually know what I do. So being a fractional sales VP is a little bit newer, at least in my market. And fractional leadership is somewhat of a newer phenomenon in business. So it wasn't so much about competing with others that do what I do, although that is part of the equation. I wanted to stand out as my own brand, but it was also building awareness for business owners out there that didn't know this option existed. That was something that was important to me to get the word out there in a meaningful way.
Okay, so it sounds like like you said, it was just more of an awareness thing. And so, aside from like being on LinkedIn and doing some networking or whatever, how did how did it evolve to the point where you thought, okay, videos are what I want to do? Because I know you tried some videos beforehand as well, but how did you come to the conclusion that videos might be the way to go?
Yeah, so videos make a lot of sense to me. I have a little side hobby business where I do some videos and there's some value there. But at the end of the day, I actually met you early and realized that just through conversations with you that the impact of video. So I didn't necessarily originally know how important it was. I always felt like videos were more captivating just from my own personal experience. After many conversations with you and just kind of getting to know you a little bit, I realized that there's a lot more to video marketing than I originally thought and a lot more strategy. And I wasn't aware of all that strategy. I thought it was just get out there and make a video. I was also too worried about some things that were less important and not worried enough about other components that were more important as it relates to video content.
Give me some examples of that. It's really interesting you said that because that's something that I think, it could be things that other people are thinking about as well. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I was less worried about like scripting and I was kind of just like I'll just wing it and say whatever I feel like and I was more worried about like the quality of lighting and all these other components and like I don't have the equipment, I don't have the room and after working with you I realized that, although lighting is certainly important and all that stuff's absolutely important, but being more strategic about what you're going to say, how you're going to say it, I think has a greater impact on the message, which I didn't necessarily realize that initially.
Yeah, I think with you and your background, I think it's really similar to a lot of people, but especially you because you've been in sales. You've had to talk and like, say things to people and whatever for such a long time that it wasn't hard for you to come up with things to say. But do you think that it was just like you said, it just wasn't strategic for this particular purpose? Is that kind of what you discovered?
Yeah, I think the value of working with you and kind of scripting out the message made the message clearer and it made it flow better, which I don't know that what was said per se was different, but how it was said, how it was perceived, and the way it came across sent a different message to the people that I'm trying to speak to. I think that's really important.
Cool. So now let's get into maybe that part of it. Like when we actually start working together, you're like, Carl, now it's time. Let's make these videos. Talk a little bit about how your experience was, as we went through that whole process.
Yeah, great experience. It was a lot of fun. I was actually very impressed by the scripting that you put together and how fast that came back. So I was really pleased with the quality of the scripting. After really not knowing my business as well as I do, you put together really good stuff that I was quite happy with. Uh, you know, Practicing and kind of working together to make sure we got all the content right was a lot of fun. You're fun to work with for sure. And at the end of the day, the finished product was perfect. It was exactly what I was looking for.
Can I ask you a little bit about the types of videos that we did? Because that's something that I always preach and harp on is that, it's not enough to have the one video. You actually need to think about it in terms of there's like other reasons or other parts of the sales process that you need to kind of cover in these videos in order for them to be really effective. Can you talk a little bit about that and I guess what you thought, your opinion, and how I guess how it's worked out as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. The different types of videos was an eye opener for me. That was certainly something that I had no idea about before working with you and before we kind of strategized on what that type of video should be. So I've found it to be really important to have different videos that speak to different parts of your business that, you know, different people might be looking for rather than more generic kind of style videos. So I wasn't initially aware of that, but now that it's been done, it's been very valuable. And the different styles of videos that I have spoken to different people, and it's been I think helpful for them to understand more about what I do, and it's been helpful to kind of start that conversation if they're thinking about maybe working with me.
That's amazing, and I think that's something that I keep talking to people about. It's like you can't rely on this one video unless you're like super famous already. Then you just need one video to go, yeah, here I am, kind of thing. But for most people, having a client make a decision is going to be based around understanding where they are in their buying cycle or whatever kind of thing, right? So that's where these videos kind of come in handy. So now that you've had these for a while, and they came together pretty quickly, but now that you've had them for a while, you've been using them, and I really applaud you for how you've been using them because you actually followed all the instructions and like the feedback like how to use these videos. Talk about the impact they've had on you and just your overall feelings about having these videos and what they've done for you really.
Yeah, one of the main reasons I wanted to get these videos, my business is very heavy in referrals, which is great, and that is the best type of business always. And I love referrals, but I also wanted to broaden my network a little bit and again build some awareness out there and get some leads, I guess, if you will, or have some other people reach out that maybe to find out more. So what I found now that these videos are in place, there have actually been more people reaching out to me proactively, which is wonderful of something that doesn't really happen a lot in my business, just based on the nature of my business. So that's been a very positive thing. The other benefit that I've noticed is that when I am interacting with potential clients or even other partners and whatnot, everybody looks at your LinkedIn profile, everybody looks at your profile, and these videos add a layer of professionalism that others maybe don't have and kind of separates me. And it also lets them get to know me a little bit more before we start that conversation and get to know my personality a little bit, how I communicate and whatnot. So that's been super valuable as well.
That's amazing. I'm not surprised when I hear that, but I think that I love it when for example, you and I been such a long time and invested in like, gotta make this video, you gotta do this. I'm so happy to hear that, you've had that result because it's exactly, what I think they are going to do. So if, now that you've done this and, you've obviously, talked to other people that have, also asked about these videos, what would you say? Like, either to yourself or to someone else in your position who is like, okay, yeah, I could make the videos. Like you could do what you're doing before, or you could, really dive in and make the investment. What would you say? What would you recommend to them?
Yeah, my suggestion to anyone is if you're thinking about doing it, just do it. I wish I would have done this a lot sooner than I did, quite frankly. Obviously every business you got to be smart with your finances and make sure you spend your money well. This is definitely some of the best money I've ever spent on my business. Even if it doesn't generate new business for you right away, I think just in building your credibility, the message that you want the market to see you as, I think it's just really important. I wish I would have done it a year earlier. So if you're thinking about doing it, just get it done.
Awesome. Thank you. And so just as a final thing, maybe is there anything that you want to say that I didn't ask you about or anything else that you can think of that you'd want to share?
Yeah, I mean, Carl, you're just a great guy to work with at the end of the day, right? I wanted to work with you since the first day I met you, and you're a professional expert. You know what you're talking about, and you've provided me a lot of valuable insight, and you're the best. you know, I just appreciate working with you, and looking forward to working with you more in the future.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate it. And so thank you so much for doing this. I'm so excited for what we're going to be doing, what we have done already. And like I'm just so happy to see the results. So thanks for doing this. And we'll do another one of these later on. We've created more videos. You can like talk even more about the impact they've had. But
Totally.
thanks for
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, no, my pleasure, man. Looking forward to talking more this afternoon about kicking off some more stuff.